And about 10 more seconds.
Okay. Well, welcome and good afternoon. Welcome to the Buncombe County Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee for the date of Wednesday, April 24th, 1924. Let's see. Let's go. I apologize. I'm having all kinds of strange things happening with my screen. Okay, sorry about that. So shall we get started with the standard housekeeping agendas? Approval of the agenda. Do I have an approval of the agenda?
Approval.
Second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The meeting minutes, I will share a request, Billy, for a minor change to the meeting minutes in number 2B4, where we say in-home aid services are 100% paid through HCC funding. And I would say HCCBG and Buncombe County's supplemental aging funds. I would just add that also. Does anybody else have any updates to the meeting minutes from last month?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
So can we approve with that minor change last month's meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Nope. Okay. The units of service and the supplemental aging funds reports. In my email, I included a comment from On Track. And they are asking, let's see, On Track would like an additional allocation of $6,805.09, since they provided quality services last quarter and did not include them in their invoices, so as to not go over the award amount. Of course, they will continue to provide service. On Track is very thankful for the funding, which I will pass on. Additional allocation or not, we're extremely grateful. This is On Track speaking, for the generous support of the grant and the work it empowers us to do with aging clients in Buncombe County. Thank you so much for your supportive partnership over the years. So I'm putting that out there, but I'm not sure there's going to be any supplemental aging funds excess. Billy, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think there's going to be any extra funding left over. And Amy Upham from Blue Ridge Pride emailed me because they haven't spent a lot of their funding. And she said with their recent hire that they were going to be spending the rest of their funding.
I didn't really hear that. Could you say that again?
So I don't think there's going to be any leftover funding, and I sent an email to the providers if they wanted to relinquish or reallocate funding. And the only person that responded was Amy Upham, the executive director of Blue Ridge Pride, and she said that they would be spending all of their funding, and it doesn't show it on the spreadsheet. I think they're a little behind, but with a recent new hire to direct the Gen Plus program, they'll be spending all of their funding over the next couple months.
Thank you.
So Billy, what would your recommendation be? Should we reach back out to On Track and say, we hear you, but we're not hopeful there'll be excess money?
And that was my reaction to it. Where's the money going to come from?
Right.
I think that's the thing to do, is to say to them, we know what you need. We're going to have to wait and see if there's any money available. And
Right.
let's see, this is, that we'll review it next month and see how it looks and let you know.
Right, when we find out how much funding we're actually getting, if there's any left over, maybe. Word it that way, is that what you're thinking, Dan?
What I'm thinking is simply saying, we do not know if we'll have anything left over this year, and we will review it in a month and let you know how it's looking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll reach back out to On Track, and they understand that that there might not be any funding left over. They said if there was. But I'll reach out to them again.
Okay, I just don't want them left hanging without any response from the committee. And I agree with Dan. I think we tell them we don't know right now, and we'll keep you informed.
That's sensible.
So does anybody have any questions or concerns about the units of service reports or the aging funds reports?
I will just comment that I got an email today from Joy Wilcox with Mountain Housing, and they requested to be considered if any extra funding became available at the end of the year. Or, even now. Let me read exactly what Joy sent me. She said, since we've already spent and billed our HCCBG allocation, please let us know if additional funds become available from other agencies, as has happened in the past. We have 8, possibly 10 clients that are in need of essential repairs without any other funding options. We would greatly appreciate any additional funds that you can send our way.
I think the message, Zach, to them is the same as to On Track. It's just difficult knowing people need service and the funding is just not there.
Yes, and
Would it be helpful to?
I've also, I mean, as you see, when I send out the units of service, I urge those that are underspent to contact Billy and Allison. Whether they have, I'm not sure, but I try and put it in every quarter of the units of service report, and then get towards the end of the fiscal year, those directed emails start going out at the agencies that are underspent.
Rebecca, did you have a question or a comment?
I was just gonna say, would it be helpful to send out a message to all of the funded providers and just say, as in the past, we are not sure that we are gonna have any extra funding. So, I mean, it just seems like we've already had requests from two, but we ought to just let everybody know that that's the boat we're in. And if they're thinking they might ask in a month, we'll keep everybody informed.
My concern as I'm listening to this is they seem to be also assuming that they're going to get what they ask for. And it looks like, looking at our spreadsheet, many of them won't.
Eileen, we're talking about the fiscal year, this fiscal year,
Oh, this
the
one, okay.
2024. Yeah.
But I think that's a great idea to send an email out to everyone if they're in the habit of, or not the habit, I'm not trying to make it sound like negative, but if they have seen in the past that there's been excess at the end of the fiscal year, maybe just to let them know that's not the case this year.
Or at least we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Billy, is that something?
Okay, well,
Go on.
I'll send out an email to the providers. And I did send an email. I mean, Zach sends an email to the HCCBG providers with the units of service report, and then I send out both the units of service report that I received from Zach and the Buncombe County supplemental aging spreadsheet to all the providers, just so they can, for their information. And I did ask all of them if they were considering reallocating or relinquishing funding to contact me, and that's Amy Upham was the only one that contacted me, but I'll send out another email.
Okay. I guess it sounds like you've sent it out and only one person responded, and the response is we would like more funding. Nobody's getting ready to relinquish any funding. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay. And I get what the committee is, I believe, trying to say is that the providers might, I shouldn't say appreciate, but might, considering having a heads up that things are really tight this year and there may be less to I don't know, rearrange at the end of the year. Zach, is that how you would what you guys do?
Yeah, it seems that this year, differs from prior years in that the amount that our providers have been able to use has greatly increased. And so as we get towards the end of the fiscal year, it may only be a matter of a couple $1,000s that will need to be reallocated. And if that's the case, all of those requests for extra allocation may not be able to be granted.
I like that wording. Thank you, Zach. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along.
Susan,
Yes, Greg?
can anyone see anyone else, or is this all just audio?
No, we can see everybody.
Oh, I can't see anybody. All I see is a square when I see all the names, but I have no audio and video, and I can't figure out why. I've got on video.
Are you on your phone?
No, I'm on iPad, which I always am.
Mm.
You look at the top of your screen, there's a view option. You
Yeah,
see
I did
view?
that. Yeah,
Well, if you put it in gallery mode, you should be able to see everybody.
that's what I've always been able to do. But this is a different format. I couldn't get on like I normally do. It told me, okay, well, that's my problem, not yours, so don't worry about it. I may get out and get back on, so.
Can you get out and get back on, Greg?
I'll try that. Okay, all right,
because you want to be able to see the spreadsheet, even though
Right.
I think you have it.
right, okay, yeah, I'll get out and try to get back on.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So Billy, can we put up the spreadsheet? Can you put up the spreadsheet, please? Oh,
Hey, Billy, you're on mute and I think you're trying to talk. I'm not sure.
okay. So this is the V2 file, which is the latest. And Billy, okay, you've got it so that you can scroll top to bottom and so what you will see as Billy scrolls through, continue down, Billy, if you could. Okay, so right now, we are pretty close to have allocated all of the funding. If you look at the column X and Y, you'll see that the total for HCCBG is the 1.6. And then the 500,000 is the supplemental funds, which is right on target. What I'd like to do today to finalize is first look at the providers that were not deemed fundable by the group. So, Billy, can you scroll up to right below the total in-home aid number there? Thank you. So if you look at column Y for Blue Ridge Elder Adventure Nature Tours, you will see that none of the committee members felt that it was fundable for this fiscal year. So what I would say is, Billy, as we flesh out the dollar amount, is that in column AA, row 19, but row 15 for the Blue Ridge Elder Adventures, that you put a 0. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now the next provider that had all but one person recommend funding is all the way at the bottom. Billy, if you could scroll down, please. And that is, oh, there we go. That is number 26 on row 30, the fitness and aquatics. So of all of our committee members, only one person suggested funding that. And I want to ask the group if that amount, the 1,666.67, would that be something that would be useful for maybe another organization?
That's an argument I would make.
Yeah, and I think I put them at 0, not because I didn't think it might be, a good thing to fund, but because the way they had budgeted and presented it, it didn't look, I'm not sure $1,600 is going to do them any good at all. They might as well use, assuming they do have other funding, just use other funding. That's sort of a token amount that probably is not going to have a lot of impact on the program alone. So I'm not sure. It's kind of like leaving a 15-cent tip. It's not really that much of an advantage.
Can I add to that? That I didn't recommend funding for any new programs because of a couple of questions that I had. One was, what obligation do we have to our longer term recipients in terms of their stability, their capacity to expand, their helping them deal with waiting lists, and then general demand for services. My second question was, how do we support creative programming? And some of these programs I liked, and I thought the new program, I thought they offered some creative programming, but I didn't put money in for them because I thought, I'm not sure I think we should first support our or at least give priority to our long-term programs, and to some degree we have. Anyway, those were my questions, and I kind of liked our results, but I also thought I agree that some of these programs were giving token amounts to, and I'm not sure that's a good idea.
I agree that that's an issue, and maybe we need to be clearer about what our priorities are, but I think we also risk when you do have your long-term groups that always get funded, you do run the risk of presenting yourself as an old boys club and nobody else can get in on the game, and that's also not good. And I'm not disagreeing with you on this one particular allocation, but I think just in general, that is something that happens.
And
And
this
I
year,
Go ahead.
yeah, I took something of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs approach this year because the funding hasn't changed. The need is up, the requests are up, and at one point, in the entire process, I just, stood back and held my breath for a while and took a deep breath and went back, and in my recommendations, at least, I prioritize the kinds of things that people needed to survive, food and so on.
And I agree with Suzanne on that. The new programs, again, they do hold merit. And if we aren't going to fund them, I'm not sure we should invite them to apply. But the funding is so limited, it is really, really a hard decision to make.
Yeah, but
Yes,
I'm sorry, we shouldn't really be dividing them into new programs and old programs. We should be looking at the merit of the programs.
I would agree
I
with
agree.
that. And then I also think that even the older programs, if they're relying on this grant money for sustainability, I don't think that's very smart business practices.
Yeah, I think another consideration with some of these, I mean, all of these programs in theory have their merit to a greater or lesser extent, but for things like, this particular one, the hiking elder adventures, those are the kinds of programs that do require more means to participate in. You don't go hiking in, sneakers. People do it, but it's not a good idea. Fitness and aquatics. What is the real access for people who are of lesser means? I used to, belong to the Y, and most of the people I saw there were, not low income.
YW, they are.
Pardon?
I think in the YWCA, they have quite a
Are
few
they?
low-income people, yeah. That's very different from the YMCA. But I agree with you on this one. I wouldn't fund it at at our average.
I agree too, that I like the analogy of the tip.
Mm.
Well,
Would-
then,
Can I add just one other thing?
oh, sure, Dan.
Would we want, because I did I looked at what we had done with new programs. And I think we had committed about $37,000 to these programs. And I'm thinking, or my question to you all is, do we, if we didn't fund any of those programs, that money could go back into currently funded programs, many of which are not getting what they asked for, and some of which are not getting what they had last year. But from my perspective, one of our alternatives would be to say, let's pick out one new program, and try to use this as startup money for them, um, and give them something of what's available what we've allocated for all the new programs, to give them a good opportunity to get going on this. Just an idea.
So Dan, I think I used the expression, shot ourselves in the foot when we did the grant, when we participated in the grant, open house, I guess I'd call it. But I did find that, some of the programs that did apply, I felt they were, creative and, worthwhile. So I had a big struggle, like probably the rest of you, who do we fund, and having the same concern about, the established folks maybe not understanding that our funds are not a given. So I think what I am thinking for today's discussion, because we do need to finalize this for the commissioners, is perhaps we look at the new, well, what I was going to say is we look at the programs that had the vote from the committee of the no funding. So that would be, say, the Elder Adventures, which we just talked about, and put 0 in for their allocation. Then at where we are in the chart, the two YMCA applications, the one for the aquatics and for Parkinson's.
Susan, that's the YWCA. It says YM on the spreadsheet, but it's a YWCA program.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
Yeah, that's the aquatics one is the YW, yeah.
YWCA. Okay,
Yeah.
that's, all right. So those two programs, I'm putting out here a suggestion that for this year, we do not allocate funding to either of those programs. And I would ask the committee to vote yes or no on whether we fund these two programs.
Well, what about the others that we voted 0 for?
Well,
There were a number of others.
correct. I'm just taking this, I guess I'm just taking I'm trying to take this.
One at a time. Okay.
Yeah, one at a time. So for the fitness and aquatics, would the committee want to fund that program?
Do
I
you want
move no
motion?
funding.
No, okay. I
So
would, no,
No.
I hear no funding for the fitness and aquatics. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, then we will mark the fitness and aquatics as a 0 allocation for this fiscal year. So moving now on to pedaling for Parkinson's. There were 2 committee members who did suggest funding and the rest did not. So we have a majority of the committee did not want to fund this. So is there discussion regarding the pedaling for Parkinson's program?
I like this program for a variety of reasons, but I don't think we have the money to fund it, so I move that we not fund it.
That was my
second.
take on it.
agree.
I agree.
I agree too.
Okay, so let's formally do this. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing no opposition, I would like 0 to be put in that for that program for the fiscal year 2024 funding. Okay. Now the next program, Billy, if you can scroll up to yes, there it is. Please stop. Oh, go back one. Down one, I'm sorry. I want to capture the Elder Guard financial workshops. There it is. Row 26, number 22, financial workshops. And we had one person suggest funding that, but the rest of the committee did not fund that program. Do I have any discussion on the financial workshop program funding?
Yeah, I found the description of the program and how they thought they'd be effective somewhat vague. As I recall, it's also a for-profit organization looking for funding. But it wasn't clear to me, how they were going to get the sorts of people rounded up and into workshops who might benefit from some financial education. it's, again, I'm thinking lower income people, are they going to have access to this and how would they benefit from it? So that was my reaction to it.
I mean, my concern was primarily that it was a for-profit venture and he seemed to be looking to us for startup capital, and I'm not sure that's appropriate.
It was just a really poor proposal.
I would
Besides
agree.
all those.
I
Well-
agree.
I move we don't fund Robinson Eldergard Financial.
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of not funding financial workshops?
Aye.
I
Um, it- does anybody want to fund financial workshops? Okay, hearing no positives for funding, we will put a zero allocation for the financial workshops for next fiscal year, 2025. Okay. Now, the next program I'd like to discuss had 6 people not funding it. And that is the project access. Billy, that's down about 3 rows, I think. If you could scroll down, please. There it is, Western Carolina Project Access. Where'd it go?
It's right there on 25.
25. Okay,
No.
wait a minute. Okay, Billy, we're good.
24, right?
Yes.
Number 24, row 28. So.
That was
Discussion.
I believe that was the one that involved medical specialists volunteering their time for low-income individuals who don't have access to treatment.
yes.
I mean,
So
that's
a
the whole,
for-profit.
yeah. That's the whole project access. They don't have, I don't think they have a special program they wanted us to fund.
So they were looking for roughly $60,000 to contribute to project access.
I
that-
recommended that we give them some funding because this was a new program that has not applied before, and it would meet a need that we have identified in the county of access to medical care for low income and people of color.
I mean,
So-
it's a new program to us, but it's not a new program.
Right.
Well, do we have to decide if it's a new program to everybody or, I mean, if they've never applied to us, it's a new program to us. So I don't know. That's how I treated it, was a new program to us.
So one of the ways I treated it was Western Carolina Medical Society is a for-profit organization.
No, it isn't. It's not.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong then.
But continue, Melissa.
I just, I felt like they could, a couple things. I felt like they could get funds and from other resources based upon things that are available to them versus things that are not available to other providers that we're funding. The other thing is that there is already other resources available in the county for access to underprivileged as well as Medicaid. And I think I had went into the Medicaid expansion feelings I had last time we were on.
I think part of the experience of individuals who rely on Medicaid, and this happens with private insurance too, they may have, say, Medicaid, but if they can't find a doctor who will take it, they effectively lack access to treatment. And that does happen with Medicaid.
I just
Doctor
don't
doesn't.
see that this program is going to solve that problem. I mean, not that we're going to solve all the problems with our providers, but this program is definitely not going to solve the problem of lack of medical providers for those who have Medicaid.
And Project Access is a really good program. I just am not sure why they need our money.
I may have read it wrong, but I was under the assumption, when I read it, I thought they were asking for money for undocumented people that were not eligible
were they?
for Medicaid.
Okay.
Didn't have access to any medical help.
I mean, I may have misread that. I mean, I think they do that without us, I guess is part of what I'm saying.
Yes, I agree.
But and I like the program. I would like to give them money. But I'm, you know, at this point, given our constraints, I'm just not sure how much or
Right, I agree.
So this is a tough one, committee members. We have 6 out of 9 folks, 6 out of 9 of our members have indicated not to fund this program. Considering that's a majority, I'm wondering if the discussion today has changed anyone else's mind about that said no, but now would reconsider.
I think Melissa makes some persuasive arguments about the situation with Medicaid access. And so I would be happy to change my vote and recommend that they not be funded.
And I'm somewhat agnostic on the issue. I see Melissa's point. I wouldn't get into an argument over this one.
Okay, so so then do I hear a motion that we do not fund this program this year? This coming fiscal year?
Motion to not fund.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of not funding Project Access for the coming fiscal year, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
I'm opposed. I would wait until we see how much money we have left over after we go through everything else.
Okay. All right, let's put a question mark there, Billy. And we will come back to this.
I agree.
Although I will say, Eileen, I am kind of leaning towards a majority here, but we can
Well,
come
that's,
back.
you know, that's what happens. I don't expect everybody to agree with me all the time, but I will say what I think.
And we appreciate that.
Not everybody does.
Okay, so that's project access. Actually, let's not table this. Let's make a decision. Uh, Let's take a vote. So we have one person in favor and 8 people not funding. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Sounds like it.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Eileen.
That's all right.
That sounds like we have a 0 in that box instead of a question mark. I think this just is an example of how difficult this year has been with making allocations. So Billy, can we scroll down to the bottom, see where we are?
Oh, you want me to take these numbers?
No, I would, because for our discussion, so the column AA gives us what we're left to in terms of getting to our limit of 2.2 million. So there were 2 programs. No, actually there are 3 programs that got 4 people saying they would not fund it. So let's go all the way up, Billy, to the Land of Sky Senior Companion Program, which is about 7 from the
Row
top.
6.
Yeah. So go all the way, yeah, keep going.
It's right.
Yeah, that's item 6, row 9. And we had 4 no's, which means 5 people suggested funding. So do we have some discussion about, this is a first year request. They're looking for $90,000.
Well, like I said, I think I voted no on all new programs or $0.
Mhm.
But I really like this program, and I'd certainly be open to considering some allocation to help them get it off the ground.
Dan, this is not a new program.
Yeah, I had a question about that. It's existed, right? Or
It has
they've been funded?
existed.
Okay.
Did we haven't funded it though, right?
Correct. We have not funded it, but it has been in existence at Land of Sky for some time.
Okay.
But I think they're looking to expand to a new site, aren't they?
That, I believe, is the other one, the community health
okay.
worker.
Okay. I got them a little confused.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, the way I looked at this was from the perspective of long-term cost savings and being able to allow people to age in their homes safely for a longer period of time. And I feel like it, in the long term, decreases costs because then they're not going to need to live in a facility. It could keep them from falling and breaking a hip and having surgery and that kind of thing. So that's why I think one of the reasons I was in favor of funding it, at least partially what they asked for.
And I agree with Melissa on that. And also I've had some experience with this program. And when I was with Council on Aging and not able to get an in-home aid for people, sometimes this program filled in a gap that at least kept them at home and satisfied part of their needs. So I think it's a program that's worthwhile, that is saving money also by keeping them in their home.
Yeah, the program relies on volunteers, and a question that I had about that was, who are the volunteers, and how do you find them?
Suzanne, the volunteers are paid stipends and they get their travel reimbursed.
Right, but where is the pool of volunteers sourced from? I mean, clearly, there are people who volunteer, and I have enormous respect for them. I think this was one of those programs when I was taking my Maslow's hierarchy of needs approach to this. I took a pass on it anyway, but I don't have I do recognize its merit in theory.
The experience I've had, which is a while back, with programs like this, is that the volunteers are friends, neighbors, and relatives.
Right.
And I guess I've not had that experience. I actually, when I was working, had someone who had a wonderful, and this isn't a skilled person. It's not like they have their own home health aide or CNA or anything like that. But the person did amazing things for somebody who couldn't get around because of breathing issues and multiple other issues, and they made a huge difference and impact in their life. And they weren't a relative.
Right. I agree with, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess it just depends on who you get.
Yeah, as always.
In my experience in this particular program, I know of what Dan's speaking about. That wasn't the case so much either, in just my experience, which was limited with it. But I also know that when they couldn't get rides with mountain mobility for whatever reason, or couldn't ride on it, there were several volunteers through this program that would take them to doctor appointments and stay with them. That's quite valuable.
So as I'm looking at the clock and knowing we have a little over 35 minutes left. The question for the group is, since 5 out of 9 people agreed to fund it, is the committee going to vote along those lines to fund it at the average amount?
Yes.
So
I would say yes.
So we will agree to fund the senior companion program, 19,666.67. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, let's make a motion. All in favor of funding this program at the 19,666.67 amount, say aye or yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Do I hear any opposition? Okay, Billy, if you could put in the column AA, the 19,666.67. So we have 2 more organizations that had 4 no's. And so let's go down, Billy, to the United Community Development Urgent Home Repair, which is below Mountain Care. Keep going. Urgent Home Repair. I think that's it. Yep. Up. I'm sorry. There it is. So this one had 5 people said yes and 4 people said no. Discussion.
I mean, I'm sorry, can I?
Go ahead.
I mean, what I liked about this program is that it is focused on the minority community and it's, you know, operated by people of that community. And I don't know that it should be funded at exactly what they asked. I don't think I put that down, but I don't remember, but I think it deserves some funding, just because it does address specific needs in a community that is often left out.
Rebecca?
I recommended no funding just because it's a duplicate service, it seems to me. There are a couple of other programs that do emergency home repair, and I do think they work in diverse communities. And I just wasn't sure we needed to be starting up and funding another program that does the same kind of thing.
Well, I'm going to add my 2 cents on this one. What I liked about the proposal is that they did, they service Wananoa and Black Mountain. So they were reaching out to more of the rural areas, and also they talked about providing service to mobile homes. So those were my pluses, and yes, I was one of the ones that said to fund this one.
So does the other agency that we do fund, do they not go to that geographic area or do mobile homes?
They go all over the place.
Okay.
That's Mountain Housing, right? The other one.
Yeah.
But, you know, some communities have more intensive needs.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I guess I'm kind of on the fence about it. I do appreciate the argument that it is a duplication of another provider we already provide funds to. The other thing is there is quite a few services available. Even on that website I mentioned before our meeting started, there is resources that I found this morning that provide this. I don't know what kind of fee they offer, but
The challenge with programs like this generally is they often require a certain degree of social capital to find out about it and connect to it. And when you move down the socioeconomic spectrum into communities that have fewer financial resources, perhaps less education, perhaps a less worldly experience, they may have intellectual disabilities, whatever it is, there tends to be a limited ability to even imagine or question that, okay, is there a service out there that can do X, Y, and Z? And if they can get to that point, the question becomes, how do they find it? And I think for many communities, and I think, you know, mobile home parks are one of those, you know, there's a there are social psychological barriers to their ability to figure out what kind of benefits might be out there that they qualify for. And then, of course, if you qualify, you have to prove that you qualify, and that can be very, very difficult. So I was in favor of funding it.
So I see that, again, we have, like the last one we just talked about, we have 5 people who said yes and 4 people who said no. So the question would be, are any of those no's persuaded by our argument? And or do we go with the majority as it stands and fund the program at roughly half of their request? No, a quarter of their request.
Move to fund at the average.
Second.
Okay, we have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition. So looking at the time, what I would ask Billy to do now is if you could, since everybody, all the other programs except for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, there are 3 more that had no's, but the majority said yes. So what I'm going to recommend, Billy, is if you could put the average in the AA column of all of the programs except for well, all of the programs except, yeah, I'm not making myself clear. Can you go to the top of, yeah. So for this one, put in, just reference the average cell. So 61,800. And then down on just. And then once we get these numbers in, we'll be able to see what is left to allocate. And while Billy's doing it on the screen, I'm going to do it on my computer here. It is not making sense. Oh. Mhm. Okay, well, Billy? What I realized is what you're gonna have to do is go all the way up to the top where it says Buncombe County In-Home Aid. And delete the cell. Not that cell, the one up top. And then delete the 236,000, just delete, not that one. The one in the column AA.
This one?
Yeah, in column
Okay,
AA,
delete that one?
delete that
Okay,
because it's double counted in the green box.
Okay.
So delete that. So if you go all the way to the bottom, then we are underfunded by $7,556. No. Oh, that's zero. Okay, Billy, go all the way down again. I'm just trying to double check you in real time here. Yeah. So that was, no, you're right. So we have the same number. 21,538.
No.
okay, let me see what I did wrong.
No, you didn't do anything wrong, Billy. I did. I had forgotten.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So for the group, let's go all the way at the top and then go down and look at the different programs. And all we did was we took everybody's funded amount, made an average, and that is what is in column AA and what would be recommended to the commissioners.
Yeah, what I'm seeing on the screen is, column X and Y, so the visual needs to scroll over.
Okay. Yep. Suzanne, tell us when you can see the column AA.
Yeah, I'm still looking at XY. Keep going. There's AA. Keep going. 2 more columns.
No, that's it.
There you
That's
go.
it,
That's the
AA.
end. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, AA is the end. So using the methodology that we've had in the past, we've come to, an agreement with, everybody has funded. How do I say this? We've already discussed all of the programs except 3 that had no's. Does that make any sense? That had people said
Mhm.
no.
Yes.
And then and those 3 had 3 no's, and then urgent home repair had 4 no's. So we've already talked about home repair. Oh, the other one that had 4 no's was the Unite unmet needs. So the question I have for the group is, as we look through this chart schedule in front of us, so you can see the mountain care transportation is going to be 78% funded. Jewish family services respite is 74%. Counseling is at 69%. The community health workers is at 50%. So as you see, we just talked about the senior companion program. Meals on Wheels is at 92%. Home repair is at 62%, but if you look at their home repair, housing opportunity, they asked for $100,000. They're funded at 64,000. But then we added the new provider and they were funded at 15. So I feel like housing is kind of almost got 100% of the 100,000. See, Mountain Care, Mountain Day, Mountain Health, Pisca Legal's got 76. I mean, for the most part, people they didn't get all that they asked for. And you can see in most cases, unfortunately, they're getting less than they got in the fiscal year 2024. And for in-home aid, in the prior year, the total in-home aid was 472,000 and 472,790. So Billy, can you scroll down to the green box, please?
Mhm.
So this is the in-home aid here, that 446. That includes block grant and Buncombe County. And prior year they had 472. So we're coming down through the county funds. Billy, and we end up basically not funding the 21,000. So where do we put so now the question becomes,
So we have a few more dollars we can assign or allocate?
yes.
How much?
It looks like 21,358.
21,358?
Mm-hmm. $21,358. And I am trying. So my question is, what do folks think about putting all the extra into in-home aid?
I was going to suggest something like that, or Meals on Wheels, or, one of the programs that meet very basic needs.
And that makes sense to me.
I propose we do in-home aid.
I agree.
Yeah, because that's not going to be a cheaper to run program this year. So they could use all the money they can get.
Can I ask, this is unrelated to that since we seem to have consensus on that. We did not discuss Evelyn Charities. And I don't notice I couldn't remember what the number was, but can we look at that for a moment?
Sure. And just, so, and Billy, that is, there it is, number 18, row 22. And Dan, just for your information, there were only 3 people that said no. So that means 6 people approved the funding. So based on our prior discussion, I made the assumption, and you know when you assume that's not correct. So I made the assumption that folks would not change their position about the charity.
You know, the reason for asking the question was this is essentially a financial assistance program. And I just wondered from staff if that, I mean, what worries me about when we establish programs like that is it's another place that people have to go to get assistance, and that in the human services, we're just terrible at creating all of these outposts. And for people who have transportation issues, who don't do online as readily as the rest of us, and it just struck me that was the part of the reason I said, nah, I don't think this is a good idea.
Well, actually, Eblin is a really long-standing organization that has been doing this for many, many years.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I know.
the
And
county contracted to do it, and for some reason, the funding got lost. I mean, it's not a new organization. That's where most people in Buncombe County who need money do go to Eblin. They know about it.
I guess what I'm saying is just that it's, does staff have any response to having, and maybe staff uses them already?
Billy, can you speak to Dan's question?
Allison, can you speak to Dan's question because you're over adult services? I don't know if, I don't know if the, what the county, is Allison still on? But I mean, Evelyn's been doing this work for a long time. I'm sure that in adult services,
I am on it. I'm sorry. I had to step away for 1 second. So you're going to have to tell me the question again. What is it?
Let me tell you, the question I had about the request from Evelyn
Yes.
to do financial assistance. Is that somebody you use? I assume you use them for financial assistance now.
Our clients do use them. Like we will, if you have if we have certain cases with adult protective services and those types of things, often if there's funding needed for things, people may use Eblin to get things they need, like for heating assistance or whatever.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
can you answer another question then? What happened to their funding? I mean, they were getting other funding.
I have no idea. I don't know anything about their funding.
I thought the county was contracting with them to do these services, and then for some reason it got cut.
I don't know the history.
This is-
I can find out the history, but I don't know the history at this
Okay.
time.
Because my impression, and I can't say I studied this thoroughly, but my impression was that nobody is doing this anymore. I mean, if Eblin doesn't get funded, there's nobody else doing it for the county. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't have a clue. I
yeah.
don't know. I do not know. I don't know the history of some of this, and I don't know what was funded previously. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's a way I could find it out for you very quickly. I can send a I can see if I can send a message and get some information to you briefly, but I may not find anybody in this at this
Well,
time.
I mean, that's all right. I don't know that it's going to make any difference, but I mean, we don't have enough money to give everybody the money they need. It's just, I mean, it concerned me to hear about Eblin initially not getting whatever funding it used to get, because I think a lot of people, not necessarily the age category we're talking about, rely on them or
Right,
relied on them for emergency payments.
correct.
Thank you. Thanks for going there.
Sorry.
All right.
So
Fun with-
I think it's, I'll be candid, I looked at the budget and I felt that they were getting funding from other sources. So I was not one to fund this agency, but it seems that 6 members of the committee wanted to, so I'm going with the majority that it would be funded at the average. Is that acceptable with the group?
That's acceptable.
Yeah,
All in favor of funding at the average?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. So did I hear a suggestion or a motion to put any of the excess funding into in-home aid?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
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 Any discussion or opposition? No. Okay, Billy, I think you could add to that 446, what was it, 21,358? To just go to the cell and put a plus and it should come up to 468.77.
Okay, I did find out we do the energy assistance just in-house with Buncombe County now, not with them. So
Okay.
it is through us. So hopefully
Okay.
that helps.
So Billy, that should be, yeah, 467. Okay, and Billy, if you can go all the way to the bottom, please, and see if we have zeroed out our allocation amount. Well, then just, well, what I did is I rounded everything up to the dollar, so we'll figure out the rounding error, but we're there.
yeah.
I can't thank you, all the members enough for all their hard work on this year. For the new folks and for the folks that have been with us for a while, it's been a challenge for me.
This was the hardest one for me.
And Suzanne, this is what, your fourth year?
This is my 3rd funding round, yeah.
Yeah.
Your organization really helped facilitate, doing this in an efficient way. Thank you.
Here, here.
Well, thank everybody for their hard work. I do appreciate it. I'll tell you what, Billy, I would like to do is have the final spreadsheet distributed to all the members. Let them review it for one more time before we send it to the commissioners. And if anybody sees any arithmetic errors or has some concerns, I'm more than willing to look at it. But I think for the most part, we are done for this funding round.
Thank you all so much. A lot of hard work.
Any other comments, concerns, questions? Hi, Greg. before we close out? Well, thank you, everybody. I really, really, really appreciate all of your time, effort, support. And it's
You're
time to
welcome,
take a
Amy. Thank
break.
you.
Yes.
Everyone, thank you. And it is 4:58. So I will adjourn unless there's any other comments. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for everything, and I'll see you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.